Welcome to Small Talk and Big Ideas, where we have a short discussion about some big ideas. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Peter, and just before Christmas, I came across an interesting news article out of Calgary that reported on a counselor who is using games, specifically the game Dungeons and Dragons. This game is being used in a group setting to help facilitate therapy. And it caught my attention because I too am an avid gamer. But also, I've been knee-deep in launching my own business here in Ontario that focuses on utilizing technology and gamification as a way to teach soft skills. This article emphasized the struggle that youth experience with difficult life situations, specifically traumatic experiences such as abuse and victimization. It also talked about how these games are offering these individuals an opportunity to navigate similar situations, but in a separate, safe, and engaging way so that they can develop skills to manage life going forward. This innovative approach resonates with me greatly. So today I am reflecting on the importance of innovation, specifically for developing soft skills. But before I begin, I need to start with a quote. I know there's tons of quotes out there and we all have our favorites, but today I'm going to start with one from Aristotle, who said, "Good habits formed at youth make all the difference." And it's so true, and I know it's true because look at how early we start teaching our kids. I mean, we begin with how to walk and how to talk and how to behave at home and school, but it goes further than that. And more importantly, we teach them how to learn. We do this because we understand that learning how to learn helps us to acquire and form good habits on our own, which we and that great Greek philosopher Aristotle identify as such an important part of life. How do we learn things, though? I bet we've all struggled to learn at some point, and the only thing that can be more befuddling than learning subjects like algebra or chemistry is learning soft skills, such as empathy, consistency, adaptability, or mindfulness. The list goes on and on and on, but those are all characteristics, and they can be considered soft skills. Soft skills are the intangible interpersonal skills that enhance our ability to interact with others and the world around us. They allow us to contribute to our own development for both professional and personal success. So my question is, why does it feel like in today's world, despite all the resources and all the knowledge, interactions with people, and the world around us for that matter, seem so difficult? I'd like to highlight some examples for you to consider. Poor workplace communication. How many of us have had a coworker that is difficult to work with? Or perhaps a supervisor that we come into conflict with, resulting in miscommunications or poor performance or transfers in departments. And on the extreme end of it, maybe you quit your job or, worst case scenario, we're fired. I think about other scenarios like unemployment and how difficult it is for people to engage in the soft skills to be successful during interviews and new ventures. But it goes further than that. I mean, think about it socially in terms of all the problems that we have maintaining relationships and partnerships, or even just dealing with bullies. On a larger scale, I think about the problems with soft skills resulting in ineffective leadership, public discourse, or even polarization between communities and cultures. Now, I've probably gone down that rabbit hole a little bit too far, but it brings up the importance and the relevance of soft skill development. So let's dive down another rabbit hole, which is the learning experiences that are designed to help us learn and master skills. What ingredients go into making a great learning experience? When I think of it, I think firstly of relevance and appeal. A learning experience must be relevant to the learner's interests and goals. In addition, it has to have great visuals. It has to be well designed in its programming and delivery in order to keep the interest of a learner. We all know how quickly we disconnect from an experience if the experience isn't relevant and if it's unappealing. Now, secondly, learning experiences must clearly outline the objectives, because although a learner might be interested in the material and the material might be important, clear objectives help to provide learners with an understanding of the steps towards success and the expected outcomes they can look forward to. This helps provide direction for the learner. And a learning experience also needs to be interactive. It needs to provide a variety of opportunities to engage with. The best workshops I can think of have a combination of presentations, activities, independent contributions, and of course, relevance, novelty, and appeal. However, being relevant and appealing with a mix of activities only goes so far in hosting a great learning experience. It also needs to allow the learner choice and autonomy, and that's so important for experiences because it provides learners the freedom to engage in the experiences that are important and interesting to them. This fosters a sense of ownership and motivation. Now, let's say the learner is invested in this experience and they understand the objectives. But it's also important to provide the opportunity to collaborate with others, which helps build a sense of community and connection to the learning experience and the application of that knowledge to the real world that's around them. None of us live in silos. None of us will be successful operating by ourselves. It's only when we are able to connect our skills with those of the people that are around us that we truly find success and progress. Now, learners crave feedback. Now, let me emphasize that it is constructive feedback that we crave. Feedback helps learners adapt and apply their learning experience so that they can make changes at the pace for which they learn, meaning feedback must be given at the time of a mistake so people can gauge their understanding while keeping them motivated to continue. Is anyone reminded of their favorite high school teacher or their favorite class yet? Great teachers are hard to find. And great learning experiences are sometimes even harder to find. But in today's learning environment, we have the advantage of technology to assist educators in creating an unforgettable experience. Technology, and gamification for that matter, are fantastic because they add the element of fun, interactivity, and novelty, which also helps learners with motivation and overcoming frustration. Finally, I'd say the most important element of a good learning experience is providing a positive learning environment. When learners are in a positive environment, it promotes a sense of belonging and encourages their participation without fear. Everyone fears failing, and if we don't have an environment that is supportive and encouraging of that, everything else that contributes to a good learning experience is wasted. So where does innovation fit in with all of this? Well, innovation is an antidote to the repetitive challenges of the past. But without understanding the past, we are doomed to repeat ourselves. So let's begin reflecting on the past. But before we even get there, we must first put our mindsets into a place of gratitude and appreciation for the successes of the past. It's super easy to focus on the mistakes. But let's be honest, the past is important. It's laid the road for which we walk on, and it provides us the opportunities to consider the landscape and the challenges with respect and optimism. So with that in mind, let's talk about the challenges of traditional learning in standardized environments. Now, I've grown to dislike the word standardized because to me, it emphasizes the establishment of a set of standards that underscores consistency and uniformity. And besides that, standardizing things like learning experiences is a long process. And once a process or an approach becomes standardized, it doesn't leave much room for innovation, which can leave us steps behind the fast-paced changes that our world inevitably presses upon us. In traditional learning environments, there's a limit on the real-world application of skills, especially soft skills. Since most education is delivered in school environments, it lacks the variety of real-world scenarios, which means acquired knowledge about soft skills remains theoretical and is often left underdeveloped. Most of us can appreciate the learning curve we undergo when we have a new experience beyond the classroom, and most of us will admit we feel less than confident with our soft skills when we enter a new environment like a new job or a new relationship. And that's why interviews, networking, conflict resolution, and developing lasting good habits are so hard for many of us. Now, to be fair, in standardized traditional learning environments, educators are trying to facilitate learning experiences for a large population, which often means they have to implement a one-size-fits-all approach. And for the most part, that's worked reasonably well for a majority of people who engage. But in today's societies, there are so many different people from so many different cultures, backgrounds, and life experiences that we're starting to see that a standardized approach can sometimes neglect those individual differences, perspectives, and experiences. And this disconnect can begin to hinder the development of personalized soft skills, which are based upon the individual's strengths and needs. Further to that, traditional learning environments such as schools, colleges, universities, and training programs have been focused more on learning the hard skills required to be successful, and even further, the academic achievement that is required to get a good job. However, the emphasis on hard skills over soft skills can actually have a negative effect on the development of soft skills, which most environments consider integral. Everyone can relate to having a bad experience in education or work, and these experiences often color our perspective about others who disagree with us or who seemingly don't support us in the ways that we feel are important to our needs and development. And that can be for a variety of reasons, but one thing can be said. Educators have to deal with a lot. And the reality is, sometimes they have a lack of sufficient training on how to incorporate and subsequently evaluate soft skills. It's not to say that our soft skills go unassessed, but often feedback on these soft skills are not timely enough for us to see the relevance. Much of constructive feedback comes to us in the form of report cards or performance reports that happen well past the events in which the mistakes are made, leaving us well past the opportunities to learn in context. If anyone has ever received a report card or a performance review that highlights challenges with their soft skills, they can identify with the frustration, shame, embarrassment, or anger that goes along with hearing this feedback after the fact. Hard feedback provided after the fact is more convenient, admittedly, and often avoids confrontation, but inevitably leaves everyone involved shortchanged. We all know what it's like to get into a challenging conversation with someone, and if we don't have the soft skills required for a successful resolution, we can suffer the consequences of our mistakes. There is no replay button in life. There's even quotes that we've all heard which emphasize this sentiment. First impressions are lasting impressions. That quote highlights how the mistakes that we make, even in learning environments, are remembered, which can often cause anxiety, which leads to a fear of practicing underdeveloped soft skills. And as a result, instead of continuing to try to learn through practice and applying mistakes to future attempts, we learn to change our environment rather than adapt to it. And for the most part, we get by, until we don't. When this happens, challenges lead to conflicts, conflicts lead to polarization, and polarization leads to larger issues that can bleed out into communities. Now, we've talked about the importance of a great learning environment, and we've talked about some of the challenges to traditional learning environments, but where does innovation fit? What does it even mean? And why is it so important to focus on soft skill development? Innovation can mean a great many things, but it can be considered as the process of introducing new ideas, new methods, new products, new services that bring about positive change. It involves the application of creativity and original thinking to existing processes to help produce something that not only honors traditional successes, but goes one step further. Innovation is the ability to drive progress and advancements that foster improvement and adaptation to changing circumstances. We can all relate to how quickly the world is changing and how staying on top of those changing circumstances relates to our personal and professional success. So innovation is integral because it addresses engagement and motivation issues for learners who increasingly fall behind in traditional learning experiences. And with new approaches and new technologies, things like gamification, virtual reality, and interactive platforms can help educators increase learner engagement, motivation, and skill acquisition, especially when it comes to soft skill development. Innovation allows us to adapt to individual needs and allows for new ways to provide personalized learning experiences. These innovations in technology and approaches help us bridge the gap between theory and real-world applications to promote a culture of continuous learning. So I could go on for a lot longer than this, But what I want you to take away is the understanding that innovation is paramount in addressing the challenges faced by traditional learning environments and how they enhance the development of soft skills. By introducing new ideas, methods, and technologies, we can create engaging and personalized learning experiences that bridge the gap between theory and real-world application and equip learners with the interpersonal skills necessary for success in today's society. Thank you for joining me today as I reflected on the importance of innovation in developing soft skills. I hope it's inspired you to explore innovative approaches to learning and consider how technology can enhance the acquisition of vital interpersonal skills, especially with the youth of today. So, until our next small talk with big ideas, don't forget to learn, play, and innovate.